He's a real character from the East Village, if there ever was one. I mean, the guy is really an original. But basically, you have to know Dave is a humorist, really. He's a man of humorous descent. And if you ever hung out with him, you'd know what I mean. He likes to goof on everything. And he has a very serious side when he's playing music, and then he's all business. But he really, humor was his motivating factor, as far as I can see. And he loved to tell jokes, albeit a lot of them very corny, but they're cute though. And he really went out there and he stood up for what he believed in, and he's not a phony. The best thing I remember is when John Lennon saw him with Yoko Ono, and he said, "There's Dave. This guy would be perfect." Why? Here's a guy. He's leading this whole chant. People having marijuana, and he can't sing, and he can't play guitar. Let's sign him up. So that's what Apple signed him up for. The Pope Smokes Dope, which is a dopey title, I must say. But his catch-along songs are anthem songs, really. When you think about it, Dave is really follow the bouncing ball type of guy. Have a marijuana. I know there's a band outside right now. They're going to come in to do something. Would anybody like to say anything about Dave? We can start something. Dana Beal?
Yeah, that was the thing. It was, Peel had a running goof, Peel and Peel. I met Peel in 1969. I was away in 68, and in 67 we did the smoke-ins in Tompkins Park. The first big one was when the first Grateful Dead came to the band show. We had a band show. But Peel came in that year when I was gone. It's like I came back and he said, "You got to meet Peel. You got to meet Peel." He's like, and I met this guy, and he was kind of a little bit like Ozzy Osbourne at that point. He also, I will say, was the originator of punk.
Yes.
Definitely, without a doubt, he is the originator of punk. He was the first one, okay? And I would say that, marijuana got him out of that kind of Ozzy Osbourne thing, because marijuana is just really wholesome shit.
Yeah.
And, it basically, made Peel a better person from when I first met him. And he became, really Peel is bigger than Cheech and Chong, when you think about it. The movies and the other stuff, I'm so proud, that we could say that we won the marijuana thing. It was not completely won yet. We may have some problems because of people Trump has put in.
Yes, yes.
But we are definitely on a roll. And Mr. Peel, we won.
Someone else like to come up? Nice to meet you. Absolutely.
Yes.
Come on up.
Read Dana Beal. Get him out of
Sorry,
here.
man. I get through.
Please say your name.
Hello, my name is Danny Fields. I'd like to recall and perhaps set the record straight. I was an A&R person at Elektra Records in 1968.
Louder.
I was an A&R person at Elektra Records in 1968. And Elektra had non-such records, which in college had lots of German beer drinking, happy beer drinking song. And I said to the president of Elektra, why isn't there a happy marijuana album songs of pot and happy pot high songs? And he said, what a good idea, but there's nothing to put on it. What do we have to put on it? Okay. On a Sunday at the end of March in Washington Square, I saw a singer, as someone said, couldn't sing and play the guitar, chanting away about marijuana, and I said, that's it. That was a Sunday. It was the day Lyndon Johnson abdicated. So it's the day in history. Okay, March 1768.
March 1st.
All right. And Dave, I said to David, let's have dinner at Max's Kansas City. No kidding. And we did. And next day I said to Jack Holtzman, the president of Elektra, I think we may have the content for this album of let's smoke pot, like drink, smoke something. Okay. We met next Sunday in Washington Square, Jack Holtzman and I, and David was performing, and Jack said, this is great, we're going to record this here. Okay. We sent producer and engineers and a portable Nagra, which they got the power by stealing it from the lamppost. Sort of on the northwest kind of part of the park. Okay. It cost $1,500 to make and $1,500 to make. I mean, to physically make. Okay. Now, there was no title until I read in Time magazine an account of a Yippee something march. I don't even remember what the protest was. The guy, Time magazine reporter. Now we know, I love David so much, his diction was not impeccable. When he sang, this is the guy, the Time magazine heard this. Hippies stormed into Grand Central Station singing, have a marijuana, he thought it was have a marijuana. There's no such word, phrase, locution in the English language as have a marijuana. It was a misheard, but it was there in Time magazine, and I said, the title of the album is right there. No matter what's on it, everyone will bring it home and put it there on the floor and give their parents a heart attack and then be able to go somewhere else. Okay, so that was what it was about. There is no have a marijuana. It's a misheard and therefore a misprint and therefore was a good idea for an album. That's it.
Thank you, Danny.
Who else would like to speak?
I'd like to say something.
Come on up, please. Tell us your name.
My name is Bobby. Black Bobby. My name is Bobby. And I've known David since the early 70s. And David had another side to him. I mean, David had told me once that he didn't care what we thought about, or what we, the general public, thought about his so-called, quote-unquote, manic behavior, because he felt dedicated to spreading love. I didn't know he was a military guy. I didn't even know he was Latino. I did a record show recently, and one of the Puerto Rican cats that was at the record show came over to me, and he was, as Jews would say, compelled when he heard that David was a Puerto Rican. Because, whoa, hear this out. Because in this scene down here, most whites pretty much tried to eradicate Puerto Ricans from the culture. So what happens is, David wrote me a few years ago and told me in the postcard, Bobby, I finally saw James Brown. It was great. He said, you know, you would assume that after all these years of him being in the music field that he had gotten to see James Brown. And he had a loving streak with him. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine here can verify this. We're sitting on 10th Street at one of the Theater of the New City outdoor poetry readings and whatnot. And I'm sitting in the audience, like everyone else, and he hollers, there's Bobby. He hangs out with the Rolling Stones. I'm like, what? Rolling Stone. Anyway, to close this up for myself, David was special to me. There were great things about him, and I've heard not so great things about him. But in my heart, he will always represent my neighborhood, the Lower East Side. Thank you.
I know a lot of you want to have something to say.
What's your name?
I'm Harold C. Black. The
Oh,
original-
Holy.
As one of the surviving OGs, original group, gangsters.
Oh my God.
Before the Lower East Side, David and I, it was the Banana Trippers. Of course, you know that's where David got his name. Before the Banana Trippers, it was just David and I. 53 years. Seems like it's 2.5 weeks and 4 joints later. And some of the stuff we smoked was not bananas. So let us say that before there was punk, there was Peel. And the cops would see us in the park and say, oh, they're just smoking bananas. Like, yeah, banana. So what we used to say is that you could have called us a cover band because Smoking Bananas was our cover. And I think that's the end of it before I start crying. Hopefully some of you will make it out to the cemetery. One of mine and David's fans has hired the Patriot Riders, a group of vets who, I don't know if the motorcycles are going to show up, but they will be doing flag honoring at the cemetery as well as the Army. I'm honored to be receiving the flag, and some of the vets, well, I was telling the vets about who they were honoring, and the story was that David and I were singing Mother Where Is My Father, and joined the dirty U.S. Army out for fun in the street, and a bunch of Vietnam vets show up. Now I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting my ass kicked now. And the guy comes up crying and hugs me and tells me that he's in a ditch, bullets flying all over the place, and the one piece of home that he had was a copy of the Have a Marijuana album there in the ditch with him. We were, I think it was Phnom Penh in the PX, we were number 3, and number 1 in the PX in Da Nang. So, the only time I was more honored than getting that hug was standing on stage with David as backup singers for John Lennon in Madison Square Garden. David and I looking at each other, and the lights come on, and the first song and the first words out of John Lennon's mouth in front of the entire Madison Square Garden is me and Yoko Ono. Oh, I said that name, sorry. Me and Yoko Ono waiting for, it was Jerry, but he changed it to Geraldo Deland. Up comes a man with a guitar in his hand singing Have a Marijuana if you can. 2 greatest honors in my life. And I'd like to imagine I said something witty here at the end. So if you all just laugh and say, oh, that was funny, Harold. And I'll leave it at that.
What
Thank you all for
cemetery was
coming.
he going to? Nobody
Calverton National Cemetery.
Which one?
Calverton.
Way out on Long Island.
Oh.
Harold, did you get in touch with Billy?
Yes, I called Billy.
Yeah.
First time I talked to him in 40 years.
You
And,
used to have the best after-hour club that I ever went to.
The 210 Club. There was one night that, if those of you remember Huntington Hartford, he knew about Teenage Lust, all right. Huntington, David, and Richie Havens were at the club that night. And Richie and I and David laughing, the hunt is on the hunt. He's sniffing around. Now, hey, I'm a millionaire. Well, you used to be, but some great times. Next. I do need to say that if you've been following my posts, the vultures are out. If you've seen, I had to knock down, actually more than one, 2 GoFundMes by people who are not. Fill in the blanks for me. I don't want to embarrass anybody by using the word fuck. Come on. Okay. That's not a dirty word. If you want, it is my intention to set up the David Beal a scholarship fund. However it's done, so that one artist, one musician, and one poet each year will receive a small stipend in David's name, and I think that's what he would like to happen. So if you see anybody, there is a David Beal on Lower East Side page that is not authorized. If you see anything, report it, and I will do my best to honor my old friend. Yeah, please.
Hi, my name
Sorry,
is
but-
Mary Poppins, and I know David, I'm sorry.
Oh, you want to get
Mary
through?
Poppins. And I know
That was
David Beal
beautiful.
from the Woodstock reunions, and a good friend of mine, Sally Sunshine,
Yeah,
who has
yeah.
passed on a while ago. But David and I have had some
Cable
pretty
type
wild
television.
adventures,
I
and
won't, I don't
I
have
don't
cable
think
television.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, YouTube.
And you'll notify me? Harold C. Black?
Give me a card.
so many
No,
people
are you on
loved him,
Facebook?
Yeah.
and I
Okay, just
remember
like the
hanging
house
out with
now.
him
Super
at
dark.
Occupy Wall Street,
It's coming dark.
and he used to come up to the Woodstock reunions,
It's
and
really
one
good.
time they did this, you know how the structure they use for parking cars, you know, the portable one? Well, they fixed it up with lights and black lights and everything, and it was called the hippie car, I mean, it was called the
Thank you, Howard.
hippie wash instead of the car wash. And, you know, we went through it, but you came out on the other side, maybe not so clean, but pretty well smashed. But, so we were sitting there playing music, and this is a fun time that I remember. And you know, David liked to talk a lot. How many people knew that? Okay. So I used to talk to him, and I knew him from different places, and we used to have a wonderful time. And so we were sitting in there, a hippie car wash, and we're sitting in there. And all of a sudden, you know, I was playing drums, and he was talking, listening to the radio and talking, and I was listening to the radio, and I was playing drums, and he was talking. And then there was a butterfly that was flying through. And as I said, David always loved to talk. And as a butterfly was flying through the hippie car wash, I went like this. I said, "Come here, butterfly." And the butterfly flew and landed on my finger. David Beal said nothing. He went he stuttered a while, and I don't know what language, but he said, I can't, Mary Poppins, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe that. And he just sat there for a while. And I said, this is the hippie car wash. And then he laughed and we laughed. But that memory I'll always remember, because as the butterfly landed on my finger, David said nothing for maybe 10 seconds. But then he started stuttering and he goes, I can't believe you did, I can't believe you. I said, it's right there. And then I just said, so anyway, God bless you all. I'm glad Aristedes sent me an email to let me know about today, because I would have been sad if I didn't come today, because I consider David a real true friend. And he had so many real true friends. And he just loved people. And I think what he was talking about, a GoFundMe to do his scholarship, is just remarkable. And I think it's important that we remember our friends in such a way to make a difference in other people's lives. Not just our lives, but to continue keep it going, keep it going. And I think it's absolutely beautiful that he's going to do that GoFundMe. You know, a little bit adds a lot, and it makes a difference, and it touches all our lives. So thank you for listening to me, and God bless you all.
Okay, I'm Aron K. the Pie Man, for those who don't know me. But David and the Yippies and myself, we have a history going way back. First time I met David was around the time of Nixon's inauguration in 1973, when we had the rat float. 12 foot long, 6 foot high, papier-mâché rat with Nixon's mug, along with 140 people wearing Mickey Mouse ears, the Rasketeers. David was there, helping to lead the pack to give hell to Nixon. Believe me, the rat gave them hell. Cops seized the rat, put it under a flatbed truck with their backed up with traffic, and we seized it, seized the time. Dave was there with us as we seized the time until the cops beat the shit out of the rat. And of course, I'd run into David for years at smoke-ins and at protests. We traveled all over the country between New York, Kansas City, Chicago, to all these protests, these conventions. And David kind of like helped set the pace for the grassroots marijuana movement. You know, I remember buying that record back in '68, bringing it home and playing it full blast. Drive my parents nuts with, I like marijuana, you like marijuana. My father was going ballistics, saying, this sounds like LSD. And I said to him, how do you know? You never took it. You know? And I played a full blast. He's just screaming in his Jewish accent, that's stupid music. Oh well. He's gone, but that was his prerogative. But now, years later, after Occupy Wall Street, after the ascension of the chump to the throne, Chumpy and Bannon and all these little Nazi types, and Sessions, who hates pot. Maybe, but when he dies, he'll have a real session with the maker. He'll have a real session with his maker concerning pot. Now David Peel, unfortunately, bought the farm. Maybe his body is gone, but his music still lives. Look how every day you hear John Lennon, even though John's been gone almost 40 years. We got to make David Peel into a household word. You know, along with marijuana. Because that was real grassroots music in the 60s.
Grassroots.
Now it's 50 years later, 50 years to the 50th anniversary of the Summer of Love. A lot of our people are gone. Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, among others, and David. The music's got to stay alive. Definitely, it's got to stay alive. So David, you still live among us in our hearts. People can still hear having marijuana. Or up against the wall, motherfucker. You know? I mean, many of us were teenagers back when David was prime in Washington Square Park. And now a lot of us are grandparents now. And we're still listening to the music. We haven't sold out to all that schmaltzy music. We still like to rock and roll. David Peel forever. Let the Pope smoke dope. Remember, pot is a nerd. All these politicians are dopes. That's what David taught us. You know, but we are all survivors of an era. Some of us, I survived cancer, and I'm still here. Some of us survived other things. We're still able to get up and speak to y'all. Okay, just gonna give to the next party.
Aron, you're still trucking, I hear you.
I don't give up
Let's
that
hear it
easy.
for Aron Kay. Yippee, Simon! Yippee, yippee!
Okay, listen, before Elliot gets on, let's do David Lives. David lives! David lives! David